It almost seems like the Washington Redskins are trying everything they can to make sure that Dwayne Haskins doesn't succeed. I mean, the way they put him into that Giants game was just a terrible way to put a guy in. He hadn't had any first team reps, period, and now all of a sudden you're going to throw him in, not even at the end of halftime where maybe he can have a few minutes to go over plays, but literally just in the middle of the second quarter. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Pretty much everything the Redskins have done this season has made no sense to me, and I actually thought that they weren't going to be that terrible of a team going into this season, but through 4 weeks, it's just looked like a mess so far. And this is coming from someone who loved their draft and absolutely is a huge fan of Dwayne Haskins. I just feel like they didn't really plan this one out too perfectly. I really didn't love the way that they kind of just threw him into the fire right there. Things just didn't work out too well for Haskins because of that. But I also feel like as a whole, the whole Redskins offense just was not playing well. However, it does have to be mentioned, Dwayne Haskins, he had his own mistakes, and some of which you can't blame on him just not playing with these guys too much. Like, take a look at this one, for example. It's going to be a cover 4 zone, and then what Washington is going to do is run play action, and then Haskins will run up to the top half of the screen, and really just those two routes are the two routes that Haskins is going to look to throw the ball to. Essentially, he has a deep route, so if that guy's open, then take a shot deep. If not, just hit the underneath tight end, you can gain some yards that way. And after this ball snap, you are going to notice that he is running outside the pocket, and also you will notice that his tight end underneath definitely open, so he definitely should know that, hey, I can at the very least throw it there and gain some yards. However, he also looks at his guy deep and says, you know what? I kind of like that situation. It's pretty much definitely just a 50-50 ball, but he's going to say, hey, how often do you have a chance to score a touchdown? Not that often. Sometimes when you see a 50-50 ball in the end zone, why not take a shot? However, his throw is just going to be nowhere on the money. I mean, actually could have been intercepted, but it definitely wasn't going to be a completion. And that's why I say it probably wasn't him throwing the ball away, because if you're throwing the ball away, you're not going to keep it that close to the sideline. So I do think he was trying to actually complete that pass there. He just missed the throw. In fairness, he was on the move, and missed throws happen, especially deep down the field. So I'm not trying to, pick on him too much for it, but that was one play that you can't sit here and say it's only because he got thrust in there. It was a missed throw. It absolutely was. I mean, you can say, actually, that he was cold going in, so maybe just he wasn't fully warmed up yet, which, again, is why I absolutely hate putting a guy in just in the middle of the second quarter. At the very least, just give him the halftime to fully warm up and get him mentally prepared, or really, at the very least, just give him a week to prepare. But they did neither, and it really did hurt him. This one was another play, which, again, is going to be just a bad play by Haskins. I know the situation isn't great, but it still was a bad play by Haskins. Where what's going to happen is that his receiver on the bottom half of the screen is going to run that route right there, sort of deep towards the back of the end zone, and he'll also have a tight end simply just run kind of right over there, just get barely into the end zone, and hopefully Haskins can hit him and they can get a touchdown. Also worth noting, it's man coverage here for New York, so that's going to be the Giant who's in charge of covering the tight end. And it's also worth noting that this play is going to work. His tight end is going to get open, and there is a window where Haskins can make this throw, but he just misses it. Again, maybe you could blame it on just him coming in cold and not really being fully prepared to make this type of play, but on a third down situation, you really would have loved to see him be able to make that throw and get the touchdown. So yeah, those plays definitely weren't great, but also it should be mentioned that both of those two plays were on his first drive, and I did feel like he actually played a little bit better as the game went on. Things were also difficult for him because, he came in with them already down, and they were down by a good amount for the entire game, really. So he had to really work at trying to just keep his team in it. They weren't able to truly establish the run maybe you would want to. There's so many things wrong with putting a guy in relief. I won't bring it up again, but I do hate it. However, Haskins did have some good plays later on in the game, and like this one, for example. They're at their own 1 yard line, and so some teams will run the ball here, but I'm personally always against that. I feel like far more often it results in a safety than a gain of a few yards, and clearly the Redskins feel the same way because they're running play action and actually have Haskins run out right there. Then they'll simply just have a tight end go out to the top half of the screen. Haskins can hit the tight end and they can get some breathing room that way. Personally, I like this a lot better. You're giving yourself a better chance of getting some breathing room. I feel like it's a less risky chance of you getting a safety, and also there's a bigger chance of maybe your tight end breaks a tackle and can go a long way. But if you watch Haskins, he's going to make a very good throw on the run and also gets that ball off very quickly. That quick release is something very key. He does have a quick release. He showed it off on a couple of other plays too, but that's a good athletic play by Haskins, I thought. I mean, that's not easy to do, to make a throw on the run that quickly and that accurately, but that's what he did, especially given the situation of being in your own end zone. Just very calm and very good play by Haskins, I thought. It also should be mentioned that a lot of his receivers just weren't getting open. Like on this play, there's a couple of routes that Haskins could look to throw to. I mean, there's going to be a tight end running a curl route right there. That's the route Haskins likes the best against this coverage, so that is the first place he's going to look. But there's also a halfback running a flat route to the top half of the screen, so that can be his second read on this play. However, after this ball is snapped, you're going to notice that the Washington Redskins tight end isn't open, and so much so, in fact, he's going to try to create some contact to try to get open. And honestly, if Haskins threw this ball in that direction, that's offensive pass interference. He can't make that throw. So okay, first read off the table. Now look over to your second read. Well, that's not really open either. Maybe if he was outside the pocket, he can make that throw, but just with the angle, there's a better chance of that one getting intercepted than caught. And even if it was caught, it only goes for a couple yards. So he can't make that throw either. However, Haskins is not going to give up on this play. Watch how he's going to run outside the pocket, and now he's going to look and see if there is some other Redskin who could potentially be open, and there actually is. It's going to be that receiver right there. Although also worth mentioning, he's going up against Jabril Peppers, who really has quietly become one of the best safeties in this league right now. He was a huge reason why I liked the Odell Beckham trade from the Giants' perspective back when that happened. He's just a tremendous talent. And he had another big play in this game that I will break down later in this video. But for Haskins, he's going to say, you know what, there is an opening here, I'm going to take this chance. He makes a great throw. Peppers actually made a great break on that one, but just missed it because it was just too perfect of a throw. I mean, Haskins, on the run, made a beautifully accurate throw, and they were able to get some yards on that play, despite the fact that it didn't work out the way it should have. So yeah, I mean, those are some plays to build off of. It wasn't a great performance by any means from Haskins, but it wasn't a disaster either, and given the circumstances, I think you can feel at least a little bit optimistic about those types of plays. But of course, if you're looking at the box score, the glaring stat was the 3 interceptions, and so let's actually talk about all of them, because I thought they were all pretty interesting. The first one is this one. It's a cover 1 hole, and for Washington, they're going to have a tight end run right over there, right over the middle, and so Haskins says, okay, that is a route I should look to throw to against this type of coverage. Of course, I'll have to wait for you to get past the middle of the field, but once you do, you could potentially get open, so that's something I'm going to look to throw to. That's what Haskins should be saying inside his head right now, and it is what he's saying inside his head right now. And as you see once again, there is a window where Haskins can try to make this throw through. However, also once again, it is Jabril Peppers who's right next to him right here. So it's going to take a good throw, and also he's going to have to hope that Jabril Peppers doesn't make a great play. I think if you just ignore the numbers on these guys' jerseys, this is probably a good throw. However, the disadvantage is, against Peppers, this is kind of a dangerous throw to make. And this throw actually isn't going to be bad, but watch how Peppers just steps in front of it and is able to get this interception and take it to the house for a touchdown. So that one you could sit here and say was a bad play because you don't want to try Jabril Peppers right there, but it's also the type of play I expect a rookie quarterback to try and make. He saw a guy who was open, and in college, when you have a guy that open and you make the throw, it's going to work just about every time. But in the NFL, when you're going up against some guys who truly are just elite level players, like Peppers is, sometimes you just can't make that throw because the window isn't that big and Peppers can close up that window. So was it a mistake? Sure, but it wasn't necessarily one I would be worried about if I was a Redskins fan. And honestly, this next one I would say the exact same thing. It's going to be a cover 3 zone, and Washington has a receiver running that route right there, which could get deep downfield, so it is something Haskins could look to throw to before the ball is snapped. And then after the ball is snapped, as you notice, well, he's not really going to get that open. There's still time left on his route, so he could potentially think about making that throw, but again, there's also still pressure, so he kind of just has to wait and see what happens, but he can't because there's pressure coming right now. So I personally would say just take a check down. However, he's going to throw a ball deep and just take a chance. But again, it's just not going to work out. His receiver gets really destroyed on that, and then it ends up in another interception. And that's Janoris Jenkins getting the interception, where just a week ago he was looking washed up, and then he's able to come through and get a key interception here. And again, that is just kind of the problem with Washington. They lack receiving talent. They really do. So I could get on Haskins for having too much faith in his wide receiver's abilities, but at the same time, how is he supposed to know how much faith he has in his wide receiver's abilities when he literally hasn't had any first-team reps? I mean, it's obvious he's had some. I haven't been there for the practice, but clearly he's, for the most part, getting second-team reps, and it's showing because he doesn't really know how good his receivers are. And even on his last interception, this was another example of him just not being on the same page with one of his receivers. It's going to be a cover 3 zone, and to have a receiver just running a curl route should get into a gap in coverage, and that is absolutely a place that Haskins should look to throw this ball to. And especially because he is going to get open. I mean, as you see right now, he hasn't finished the route just yet, but clearly he's going to get open. There's no real giant in his way, and he's going right into a gap in coverage. So this is an easy decision for Haskins, and absolutely one he should make. However, him and Vernon Davis just aren't going to be on the same page here. Either Haskins makes his throw too early or Davis makes his cut too late. It's hard to really know which. I would bet it was the rookie quarterback making a mistake and not the legend of the game. However, either way, I think that the real key problem is putting Dwayne Haskins in without having the time to really prepare and be a full-time starter. You saw how the Giants did it, where they announced just at the beginning of the week, Daniel Jones, you're going to be our starter, let's see what can happen. But just throwing a guy out into the fire, more often than not, they're going to get burned, and that's what happened with the Washington Redskins. It makes no sense to me, but again, maybe there's something I'm missing, so if anyone wants to play devil's advocate in the comments below, I'll definitely look into it and see your point. I might not agree, but at least I'll check it out. And anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching.